Hi, and welcome to another episode of The Brand Called You, a podcast and video show which brings you leadership lessons, knowledge, experience, and wisdom from hundreds of successful individuals from around the world. If you're new to the channel, please subscribe or hit the bell icon. I'm your host, Frits Bussemaker, and today I'm delighted and privileged to have a conversation with Esther Jacobs. Hey, Esther, welcome to the show.
Thank you.
Allow me to introduce Esther. You call yourself the no excuse lady. You are a digital nomad. Now, you're the author of a number of books. You do a lot of radio work, but you also coach CIOs to write books. And your activity has actually been noticed by the international media because you've been in the media for over 500 times. You've been covered. So again, Esther, welcome to the show. And let's just begin. Tell me, why do you call yourself the no excuse lady? What is that about?
Well, actually, I don't call myself the no excuses lady. Other people started calling me that way. And often when you're good at something, you're not aware of it and others notice. So what I have been doing all my life, I've been facing challenges just like everybody, but I managed to turn all these challenges into opportunities. And when people say that something is not possible, I do some research and I find a way to do it, an unconventional way. Or when I want to do it and it seems illogical, I find a logical way or an illogical way to do it. So basically, there is no excuses to do what you want to do, to be who you need to be. And a lot of people look at external circumstances and say, it's not possible because of my boss, my partner, my DNA, economics, politics, the weather, whatever. And if you do that, you put control in somebody else's hands and you wait, or you think you need more money or you need more education or whatever. But when you work what you already have, your personality, your skills, your experience, your environment, and you don't focus on what is not possible, but you focus on what is possible, then many more things are possible and you can realize many more things. And that's what I call the no excuses mentality. Focus on yourself, believe in yourself, use what you already have, and just start doing it. Don't wait for something. Don't make it too big. Just take little steps and start today.
Okay, got that. So I would translate that into just being the master of your own destiny.
Yes.
But that also implies you have to have an idea of what that destiny is about. What is your destiny? Is that not one of the issues a lot of people have? They don't have an idea what their destiny is.
True, and I doubt if you ever really know what it is. What I noticed, there's three types of people and three types of situations. The first one is what I just described, people who wait. They stay stuck, they don't do anything, they give over control to something or somebody else and they wait. That's also a choice. The second one is people who want to get away from the pain. They want to get away from a situation they don't like. They don't know where they're going. They don't care where they're going as long as they don't stay where they are. That's not ideal because you don't have a certain goal, but at least you create movement away from where you are. And in that movement, you will find signs and next steps to see where you want to go. The best way, of course, if you have a clear picture of where you want to go, then it doesn't matter where you are. It doesn't matter what obstacles you encounter. You just go for your goal. But how do you know your goal? I don't know. Sometimes I have a short-term goal. Sometimes I have a long-term goal. But for me, basically, one of our common friends, Martijn Aslander, he always says that I'm the master of crisis situations. Present me with a crisis and I'll turn it into an opportunity. And that is my clear goal and I'll manage, how impossible it may seem. But I don't have a strategy for myself or a long-term goal of where I want to be in 5 years or 10 years. I just go with the flow because I can think that I want to go somewhere, but then there's a crisis or an opportunity that presents itself and I might miss it. I might miss this crisis.
Okay, but is that a question of fear of missing out or not?
I don't know. I don't tend to think very far ahead in the future, and maybe I'm an exception, but that's just who I am and I'm not going to try to change it. So I go with the flow, but on every wave, I have a chance to steer in a certain direction. So I don't try to go against the current. But every situation, I try to feel what is the most logical way, where is the most energy, what seems to be the right decision at this moment.
Okay, is that so? One of the brands, in my observation, one of the brands is very much the No Excuse Lady. That's a brand somebody gave you. But for me, you are also a digital nomad. You're one of the original digital nomads who's been doing this for years and years. I understand you do not have a home and you literally live all over the world. Can you take us a little bit? How do you do that?
Well, I think it started out of curiosity. I just wanted to discover things. So I had a bunch of lonely planets and I traveled all over the world. I visited more than 100 countries and then I stopped counting because it's not about the number of countries you visit, but it's about experiences and getting to know yourself. And then from a very young age, I started investing in experiences, so not in possessions. I didn't have fancy clothes or a nice house or, you know, a nice company job. I've always been self-employed. And traveling gives me a different perspective of the world. I never complain about traffic, about air quality, about internet quality, because if I don't like it, I go to another place and there this issue may be solved, but there will be another issue. So I take things as they are and I make the best of each situation. I'm in Mexico City right now. I visited a conference of other location independent entrepreneurs. And I have been traveling for, I think, over 30 years, long before the word digital nomad became popular, long before it was digital. Mm-hmm. And of course, travel has changed a lot. And I noticed that it's getting a lot easier because we have Google Maps, we have internet, we have Airbnb and Uber, and everything is a lot easier. On the other hand, the effect is that a lot of the world is starting to look the same. So all Airbnbs look more or less the same. There's a Starbucks everywhere. And that's an advantage and a disadvantage, but it's the way it is. And what this lifestyle gives me is a lot of freedom and also a lot of opportunity to feel what I need, to manage my energy. After a while in a city, I need to be in nature. After a while in nature, I want to have more city life, for example. Or after a while in Europe, I want to go to South America, or I want to go to South Africa or to Asia. So every place in the world has a different energy, different people, different culture, different foods. And I try to mix and match what I need, what I can offer, and how to give that shape, how to realize that. And I see more and more people starting the location independent lifestyle. Some people do it as a backpacker, you know, for a while. They bring their laptop, they write some blogs and they travel and then they go back to real life. They get a job, a house, a family. But there's more and more people who adopt this lifestyle as a long-term lifestyle because it offers so much. But it's also not for everybody. Because you, as an entrepreneur, there's a lot of uncertainty. And being location independent, there's a lot of uncertainty. And you have to get to know yourself really well. I cannot go to all parties, to all tourist attractions. I have to work, I have to manage my energy, I have to keep up my social contacts. So it's a very challenging lifestyle, which I like a lot, and everybody should decide for themselves if it's for them or if you want to go on a holiday or on a trip and come back to your regular life.
Yeah, we have to make it very clear. You're not on an internal holiday. It's just a lifestyle of traveling the world for over 30 years. So how do you then support yourself?
I used to work as a speaker when I still spent a lot of time in the Netherlands. I think I gave over 1,000 keynote speeches and 2 TEDx talks in Europe and other continents. Then I realized I couldn't do that when I was traveling so much. And I wrote a lot of books. I'm the author of more than 30 books. And I realized that a lot of entrepreneurs and people with beautiful stories and messages struggle with putting their message out there. Mm-hmm. And I found, just like I do everything in reverse order or in a different way, I found a revolutionary way to write a book. I call it reverse writing. Okay. And we turned the entire process upside down. So we start at the end. We start with the back cover. Because the back cover of your book is a summary of your book. It's your sales material, your promise to your readers. It's what you send to a publisher, and it's what we read on Amazon when we buy a book. And on the basis of the back cover blurb, people buy books. So you can already start pre-selling your book, testing the idea. And the back cover gives you the structure for the table of content of your book. So if you promise to take the reader somewhere in 7 steps, or you have 15 tips, or you have before, during, and after a special event in your life, then you know your book should consist of those 7 tips or 14, 15 steps or 3 parts. And then you start filling in those chapters with bullet points only. You don't start writing. You think, oh, I wrote a blog about this. I have this video that I can mention as an example, this personal story, this quote, this interview that I want to do. And only when the table of content, the outline of your book is completely clear, then you can start writing. But first you've done the promotion, the finding a publisher, pre-selling your book, creating the outline, and only at the end you start writing. And then you can follow your energy instead of the page numbers. Because I know a lot of people who start writing very enthusiastically, they write a lot of words, then they get stuck and they have to go back, restructure and start again. And that's how many book projects find a premature end. When you do it my way, you can spend 15 minutes on turning one bullet point into a paragraph. And then you go to another chapter and you think, oh, I've had this nice talk today. Maybe I can put this here. So you follow your energy. And I think following your energy is the key to anything, to a happy life, to a successful business, to contact with other people. Energy management is much more important than we think.
Okay, so the way you travel the world is basically also the way you advise people to write books.
Yes, I just don't like wasting energy.
Mm-hmm.
And if you try to write the book the traditional way, I noticed that a lot of people get stuck and energy and time and ideas get wasted. And if you find the most efficient way that has been tested by me with 30 books, but also with the hundreds or thousands of people who've adopted the reverse writing method, why would you reinvent the wheel if this works and it's easy to do, a lot easier? Writing a book is still a lot of work, but it's doable. And if you have an important message to share, and I think also people who are watching, you may be a very successful CEO who wants to share a certain method or things that you've learned, but you may be somebody in Africa that nobody's heard of who has a very interesting and sincere story to share. Writing a book is not the only way. You can do a podcast, you can record a video, but writing a book gives you this expert status. This picture of you with this book makes you a thought leader.
Okay, now because what triggered me in doing my research about you coach people, but you specifically mentioned you coach CEOs in writing books.
Yes, I coach entrepreneurs as well. Basically, anybody who has a message that they want to share, an experience, a method. And if you think about CEOs and successful people, they have done something in their own way that has been successful and that they usually want to help other people achieve as well. So they can become a mentor of one person and, transfer their knowledge to this one person. They can give a lecture at a university and maybe reach 30 people or 100 people. But if you capture your life story and your lessons in a book, it may be read by hundreds or thousands or hundreds of thousands or millions of people around the world. And that is still the best way to capture something, a legacy, and your life lessons, what you want to share, your important message for other people.
Okay, well, we're going to come to your own life lessons a little bit later, but in coaching these CEOs to date, and I understand hundreds of people have gone through this, were there any life lessons or stories which took away? That's a story which other people need to know.
Many of them, many. I've just had a doctor in a writing retreat. I organize retreats where I help people to write a book in 1 week because busy people don't have a lot of time. Mm-hmm. And there was a doctor who was divorced and he started dating. And he said, I learned so many things about myself and my personality and relationships that I want to capture this for my children. So basically, he's writing the book for his children, but he had so many insights and wisdoms that I think it will appeal to many, many more people. So even if you're a CEO or a doctor or a successful person, you don't have to write about business. I think the best books are a mix of personal experiences and some business or things that you can apply in the world, whatever your expertise is. Another example is a Dutch lady who just felt from when she was very young that she had to go to Africa. Mm-hmm. So she went to Ghana, she spent a lot of time there. She doesn't have any money, she doesn't make any money, but she started to empower local talent. And she has created like a whole group of talented people in Ghana that she puts into contact with other talented people all over the world. And she just followed her heart, and her success is not in making a lot of money, but in reaching people and empowering people and following her heart.
I can very much understand that this is an activity you can do to support yourself basically around the world. And maybe you can share us how you actually sometimes travel when coaching people, the cruise ship story. I very much like that. Maybe you could share that.
Yeah, so I think inspiration comes when you put multiple things together. So I organize my writing retreats and I arrange everything, accommodation, food. My food is always incredible, by the way. Everybody gains a kilo per day, more or less, because I like food so much. But everything, I arrange everything. And so I do all the logistics, but also the coaching. So it's quite intense for me. And then one day, as I was organizing a retreat, I saw a Facebook ad for a transatlantic cruise, because the cruise ships are during the summer, they're in the Mediterranean, and in the winter, they go to the Caribbean. And usually those crossings are done empty because nobody wants to be on a cruise without stops. And that year, they experimented with offering a cruise from Spain to Brazil for, I think, just 200 euros. And I saw it and I thought, hey, that's interesting. But it was just one part of an idea. I think just being on a cruise is not interesting. But then I thought, hey, what if I organize my next retreat on a cruise? Then I don't have to arrange accommodation, entertainment, food. People can't get lost. They can't leave the boat. And I just have to do the workshops. So I tested it on Facebook. I said, who would want to go from Spain to Brazil with me 9 days with 9 different workshops? And I'm going to charge, I don't know, 500 euros. And I got 60 people who said, me. So I created a sales page and 15 of those people signed up. So we went on the cruise. I didn't know anything. I didn't know where we could do the workshops, but everything worked out, just improvising. And as we arrived in Brazil, people were so inspired by my workshops about book writing, public speaking, social media, personal branding, entrepreneurship, that some of them had started their own business. And they said, this is great. Other people should know this as well. So I thought, hey, in 2 months' time, the cruises will go back to Europe. So I posted again on Facebook, who wants to join? And again, 15 people joined. And then I had to spend the winter in South America. And I went to Argentina. And what do you do when you're in Argentina? I learned tango. So I started to dance tango, and I learned so much from dancing tango about surrender, about being in your body, being in the moment, doing something out of your comfort zone, that on the cruise back, I started to teach tango workshops, even though I barely could dance. Yeah. But I'm always of the opinion when you know something just a little bit better than somebody else, you can already teach them. And that led to a whole tango thing. I invited my tango teachers from Argentina to Europe who had never been outside of Argentina. We used tango as a mirror to also help businesses understand the relationships they have and the movements and the cooperation. And so everything I do, it starts small and then it branches out to things I never expected.
So what I'm hearing you say is also be open to new ideas, be open to what's coming to you, and act on that.
Yes, everybody gets questions, frequently asked questions. And in the beginning, I often think, oh, that's a question. Hey, that's the same question again. Oh, I have to repeat the answer again. And then I think, hey, if I get 10 people together with the same questions about book writing or about digital nomad life, I create an online workshop and I help those 10 people, but they also connect together. And that's a very powerful mechanism, to have like-minded people connect together. That's part of the solution, because that creates a network, a community for them after the workshop, that they can continue their growth and their journey and their adventure.
Okay, so it's almost like collaborative research or collaborative learning in a sense. It's okay just to know a little bit about the topic, as long as I can get the right people together who are interested in answering that question. Is you facilitate self-help, because most people can help each other. Is it?
It's part of it. Of course, I only give workshops on topics that I'm very experienced about. So I provide a ton of information,
Okay.
but information is not enough.
No, but you
So
just said you just learned tango and started to give tango lessons. So I was triggering on that.
Yeah, definitely. And I have another example. I recently bought, just for fun, a plot of olive orchard in southern Italy, in Puglia.
Okay.
And of course, there's olive trees, so I needed to do a harvest. And then, you bring the olives to an oil processing facility. And suddenly I had hundreds of liters of olive oil. And then people started messaging me like, can I try the oil? Can I buy it? So I created a brand and a website in just one day, tinytrulo.com. And now my olive oil is on the menu in restaurants, and I only have a few hundred liters. So I just bought the neighbor's olive orchard to have more olive oil. And I know nothing about olive oil, but apparently my oil is of very good quality that really connoisseurs want it. So now I'm going to learn more about olive oil. So I just bought some land because I wanted to have some land. And now suddenly I'm going to be an olive oil sommelier or something.
But how do you mix being a digital nomad or being a nomad in general with owning land? Somehow that seems like a conflict, or not?
Yes, most people who own land think they have to take care of it, but I have found a neighbor who takes care of my land. I'm learning Italian since 1.5 years to be able to communicate with the people there, because nobody speaks English. So he takes care of my land, and I get a lot of messages from people. I also want to buy land. I want to see your land. I adopted one of your olive trees. Can I come and visit? So now this November, I'm organizing a trip to Puglia to introduce people to the area that I barely know, but I know just a little bit more than them. So I take them on a trip. And as I'm here in Mexico City, through WhatsApp, I'm organizing accommodation, olive oil tastings, visits of other farmers who want to sell their land. So you can do everything online.
It's amazing. It's olive oil, tango, writing books. Where does it stop? Or is the list, the opportunities endless?
I always think this is going to be my last big adventure, and then every time something new presents itself. And especially this olive oil project gives me so much pleasure. And I notice when I talk about it to other people that they're also triggered. So it is possible to pursue your dream, and you don't need a lot of money to do it. And you can do it from anywhere in the world. And I think that's my most important message. Whatever you want, it is possible. Maybe not in a conventional way, but there is always a way to do it, just as long as you stay open. A lot of people, when they go to a conference, they open their inspiration, or when they listen to a podcast. But why not do that every day? Why not turn your inspiration button on and be inspired by whatever you see, whatever is around you?
Okay, you've actually almost answered my one of my last questions. Is I know you've been able to inspire a lot of people through your books, through your presentations. Where do you draw your inspiration from at the end of the day?
That's an interesting question, because everybody I speak to listens to podcasts, reads books, goes to conferences, and I just don't have the space for more inspiration, because somehow my inspiration button is always on. And inspiration is everywhere. I mean, I'm staying in an Airbnb in Mexico City now, and it's a bit messy. Maybe you call it artsy. Mm-hmm. And the owner is a fashion addict. So everywhere I see things about fashion. And normally I'm not interested in fashion, but it triggers me, to look at these things, to think about it. I go outside, there's wonderful street food, and then there's restaurants who take the Mexican street food and give it like a little switch, a little something different. That inspires me. The people I talk to, the real estate investment possibilities that are here, the stories I hear from other people. Inspiration is everywhere. You don't have to read a book, talk to the salesperson downstairs, talk to a person living in the street, talk to a shop owner, talk to the bus driver. Inspiration is everywhere.
True. And now we have such a, I would say, an international, for a lot of people, exotic life. Is it possible for you to identify what are your milestones, your key milestones in your life, in your career? So, hey, these are my anchor points, which I remember.
Well, I think one of the most important things looking back, I didn't realize at that moment. I've always wanted to do something for charities. Mm-hmm. And when I was in Holland around the Euro introduction, I collected all the leftover foreign coins for charities. And I collected 16 million euros. Without any experience, without a network, without internet, without any budget. And looking back, I think that has been my big marking point of putting myself on the map. The brand Esther Jacobs, the no excuses lady. She does something that everybody thinks is not possible. She gets big results with limited resources. And that actually launched my speaking career as well. Another big milestone, it's something completely different. Years ago, I got a car accident in the Caribbean and I sustained a whiplash, and my brain doesn't work the same anymore as it did beforehand. So I cannot work many hours a day. I can't concentrate very well. And of course, I hated it that this happened and I was very frustrated by it. I can still be. But now I see that this helped me to identify the energy management, the most efficient things. Only use my energy for important things and don't waste my energy, because I only have a few hours a day that I can actually work or be clear on some things.
So a great example again of every opportunity, the downside, turned it around into an opportunity.
Turn a challenge into an opportunity, yes. And there's one other milestone I'd like to mention. A few years ago, I got fired from my home country. So for the charity collection, I got knighted by the Dutch Queen. I was an honorary citizen. And a few years later, that same government fired me from my country for traveling too much. So in order to be registered in a house, I owned a house, you have to sleep there at least 4 months a year. And I was traveling too much, so they didn't allow me to be registered in my own house anymore. And I lost my passport, my pension, my voting rights, my company that was registered, my health insurance. It goes on and on and on. And of course, I was frustrated by that as well. It was a challenge. And I turned that into an opportunity as well. By being completely free. I don't exist. I'm not registered anywhere. And I help other people to find their ultimate freedom as well.
Okay. How do you travel? How do you cross the border then? You need a passport. How do you do that?
I do have a passport now. It was a big workaround. I can get a passport at a special window for homeless people in the Netherlands, because officially I'm homeless.
Well, you are, but I would say by choice.
Well, I actually own a few apartments in Amsterdam that I rent out. So I'm not at all homeless, but I'm not registered anywhere. And I don't fit the system. So when I go to this window, I have to present 6 months worth of documentation to prove that I live in hotels, Airbnbs, whatever. And it all has to be on paper. And if one of them is older than 6 months, they send me back and I have to redo everything. It's impossible. Unfortunately, I only have to do it once every 10 years. But it's very complicated. But I've got this Dutch passport. I'm very proud of it, and I'm very happy with it.
Okay, so you still are proud of your, I would say, heritage. Now,
yes, even if Holland doesn't appreciate my lifestyle, I know that I'm, the early Dutch people, the VOC, they were explorers.
Yeah.
And they were representatives of the Netherlands. And Netherlands has always been open, democratic, adventurous, very liberal, flexible. So I think I'm a typical Dutch person. I'm proud to be Dutch. And one way I'm recognized by being knighted by the Queen. The other way I'm like a pariah, an outcast that doesn't fit the system. But I think the problem is the system and not me.
Fight the system. Last
Not fight.
question.
I always say dance with the rules, because you can't fight the system.
Okay.
But if you dance with the rules, you challenge the rules to become a little bit more adapted to the real situation.
That's where the tango comes in again, I guess.
Yes. Yes. So everything is tied together, even though they're completely different topics. And that's what I love about my life. I don't know what is next, but I know it will fit in somewhere. And the red line is always no excuses, because you can apply it to relationships, to government, to lifestyle, business, travel, anything.
Last question. Will you ever settle down in the future, do you think?
Depends on how you define settle down. I think I'm pretty settled in my lifestyle. My big wish is to stay longer in one place, because nowadays I switch almost every week or 2 weeks, and it's just too restless. And my ideal would be to spend 1 month or 2 months in different places. And of course, it's my own choice. So I think that will happen. Maybe I'll fall in love with one place and stay there longer. But so far, I've fallen in love with a lot of places. So I have to divide my time over all those places that I like.
Basically, there are no excuses. You are the master of your own destiny. It's not something you talk about. It's actually what you've been doing for the last 30 years. So, well, it was great talking to you, Esther, and to share us and the audience just a little bit of what your life looks like. And it's amazing, and it's challenging for a lot of people out there, but I'm glad you shared it with us. Thank you so much.
I must say, it's not always easy. Maybe my stories make it sound like it's easy. There's a lot of people out there who face challenges, who have limitations, whose life is not easy. But the more difficult it is, the bigger the chances that there is an opportunity hiding in there somewhere.
Good way to end. Thank you, Esther. Esther Jacobs.
Thank you.
Thank you for listening to the Brand Called You videocast and podcast, a platform that brings you knowledge, experience, and wisdom of hundreds of successful individuals from around the world. Do visit our website www.tbcy.in to watch and listen to the stories of many more individuals. You can also follow us on YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. Just search for the Brand Called You.